My name is Eric Barron. I'm one of the principals of Triplemint Real Estate. Thank you for joining us. We are very committed to educating the real estate community. So I want to thank potential buyers and sellers and renters that have joined us today. I want to thank the real estate professionals that work at Triplemint, that may work at another brokerage. I want to thank all of Triplemint's clients as well for joining us today. I have an amazing panel, and we're going to do a deep dive into all things Jersey City. I want to give a big shout out, first and foremost, to Hoboken. I have my checklist here. First and foremost, to Hoboken Girl. I'm assuming everyone knows who she is. Her and her team have done an amazing job curating some content for the Hudson County community for, I think, almost a decade now. So I want to give a big shout out to our partnership with Hoboken Girl and the people there. I see Natalie, you are joining us from Triplemint House right there on Washington Street in Hoboken, one of our offices there. Just 15-second plug here. Triplemint is a technology and data powered real estate brokerage. We're predicting buyer and seller behavior and really enhancing the consumer experience. We're super excited to have that retail space. Our first one, soon to be Jersey City in Hudson County. And we are looking forward to getting on, as all of us are, right, to this other side of COVID-19. And as we can host events and some educational events face-to-face and get away from the computer and Zoom. So really excited to see many of you in person as things evolve and move forward this year. So with no further ado, very excited to have Paul Silverman, one of the principals, co-founders of Silverman, which is one of the preeminent builders and developers throughout Jersey City. So Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
And then I'll just introduce Natalie. We'll give a quick bio and we'll hop into a robust conversation here. Natalie Miniard is our infamous broker of record at Triplemint, longtime Jersey City residents. And you know what, instead of me introducing you, Natalie, why don't you just give 30-second background on who you are and your connection to the local community.
I've lived in Jersey City going on 25 years now, moved up from Florida in real estate for over 18. Actually, I met Paul right around the time I got my real estate license. So he's been certainly someone that I've learned a lot from and talked to about real estate pretty much my whole career. So I focus mostly on Hudson County, Jersey City specifically. So this is going to be a really fun conversation. And moved to Triplemint last year and couldn't be happier.
Great. And a wonderful leader and an example for all of our amazing agents in the New Jersey market. So thank you for doing what you do. Mr. Silverman, I can't imagine who doesn't know you, but for those that may not, please tell us who you are. I know you started building, oh my God, 40 years ago in the Jersey City market.
That's right, 1981. My brother Eric and I started developing in Jersey City in 1981, wow. 40 years ago this year. And Eric had just gotten out of college. I was running our father's trucking company in Kearney, New Jersey. And I invited Eric to join me in the trucking business. And he said, no, I'm much more creative than that. And he wanted to build buildings and rehab buildings. So he discovered Sussex Street in Pawtucket and needed an investor to buy this 14-unit apartment building with a beautiful possibility for renovation. And I put up the money and became Eric's partner, and he did the work out in the field while I was running the trucking company. I did the business side of it. And after 1 year renovation, it kind of looked like your kitchen behind you there. 1 year gut renovation. We rented all 14 apartments in 3 weekends at crazy rents. My wife, Eric, and I showed the apartments in 3 weekends, rented it, filled it right up, and said, boy, this is a great formula. So what we did, we took an area that nobody else wanted to touch. But Eric had that foresight, and I went along with it, and I knew that it could be great. So for 40 years, that's been our style, to take old buildings, old sites, and fix them up and build beautiful neighborhoods.
And to give people the scope, what are we talking about? Like thousands of units? Are we talking condos? Are we talking rentals? But just to give people a scope of how much you've accomplished in 40 years, what does that look like?
Yes, all of that.
This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to brag a little bit.
We've done rentals, we've done condos, we've done commercial space, industrial space, rentals, residential, restaurants, office space, everything except hotels. We've done every other real estate class, and the variety's been fun. And we still keep it small, you know, a few thousand units, not multi-thousands, but a few thousand units, probably about 30 or 40 projects over the 40 years. And we try to make it big enough that we have a team and can accomplish enough, but small enough that Eric and I can be hands-on. Eric loves to design and build. I love to manage. I love to deal with our residents, deal with our commercial tenants. So we keep it so we can keep our arms around it. Pretty much in Jersey City, we can city bike to every one of our developments. So we make sure it's something local. We don't do anything out of state. Early in our career, we developed in Brooklyn, we developed in Connecticut, but the last 38 years have been primarily Hudson County and a real focus on Jersey City.
So what was the aha moment? Besides obviously things rented it very quickly and you saw a big business opportunity, what about the Jersey City community did you feel attached to? I mean, it sounds like you grew up in New Jersey.
Yes, grew up in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and our father had a warehouse in Jersey City, 1950, wow. In the South End, right along the Bayonne border. So we knew about Jersey City. We didn't know the potential that has happened over these last 40 years, but we suspected it and hoped for it. You know, to see the proximity to New York with the PATH train, the view of the Statue of Liberty, the access to the Hudson River and the waterfront. We saw the potential, and I really give my brother majority of the credit. He's the one that can see the future, and I go along with it and help him do it, and then I help run it. So starting at Paulus Hook, it was a pretty tough neighborhood. A lot of boarded up buildings, and the building we bought, this 14-unit building at 128 and 132nd Street, boarded up for years, and a homeless man living in the basement, and dumpster after dumpster to clean it out. But then once we transformed it, it felt so good to breathe new life back into that old building and plant trees out in front and get people to live there. It felt great after that, really did.
We'll talk more about that because I know you mentioned that. I know Natalie has shared a lot of this with me regarding it's not just building buildings, right? It's building communities, right? It's you can't talk residential without talking commercial, right? And the commercial landscape and the parks and all the amenities. So so I have some semblance of a format here that I'm hoping everyone listening and those that have jumped in late here, thank you for joining us. We're going to really now begin to do a deep dive on the history and the trends, not just looking back, but looking forward to what we believe is going to be happening in Jersey City. What are those? Obviously 40 years is a long time. Give me some of the things that maybe you looking back today are a surprise to you. Because I'm sure you guys thought, oh my God, this is going to become something. But what were some of the biggest noticeable trends and some of maybe the biggest surprises along the way?
To me or Natalie?
No, both of you. I mean, honestly, I didn't realize Natalie was there 25 years. That's to both. You know what, Natalie? You've been there 25 years. We'll come right back to you, Paul. Let's talk about the changes, the biggest changes in the past couple of, in the past 2-3 decades, and even the ones that may have surprised both of you.
Coming from Florida, when I got here, I fell in love with the area immediately. The public transportation to me was amazing. Like I can go into Manhattan anytime I want to on a train that I can walk to. So, the ferry and the public transportation and the ease and the walkability, even back then for me, was amazing. So to have then gotten into real estate and watched it grow and develop into what it is now, when I first started doing real estate, a lot of people would call about coming over to Hudson County and they would only want Hoboken. And even then, back then, they only wanted Hoboken as far back as Willow. There were even restrictions in their minds back then, how far they wanted to go. And then, in Jersey City, I was in love with, and I got to be kind of part of convincing people that Jersey City is amazing and awesome. And what I've watched over the years, how that attitude towards Jersey City has definitely changed. The you know, maybe the little bit of, ooh, I don't know about Jersey City is now like, ooh, Jersey City is awesome and cool. And, you know, what part of Jersey City? So even then, when Jersey City got, you know, people started becoming a little bit more desirable, thanks to things that, you know, certainly Silverman was doing, starting in Paul's Hook. We saw that kind of change there first. You know, people still wanted to be downtown, and even downtown, they wanted to be in, you know, certain parts of downtown. And now it's just Jersey City's wide open. People are open. They're open to the Heights. The Heights is rocking and rolling. Bergen Lafayette. You've got Greenville. You've got West Bergen. You've got all these great areas. Journal Square, obviously, and people are more open to checking out all the different areas of Jersey City.
Right,
but that's not really surprising to me.
But give me specifics, you know, and Paul, you could hop in here too. Give me, you know, building features, unit features. How have things really trended and evolved, right? And you know, that's more macro, obviously, which is great, right? The market is completely, you know, gentrified. Yep. But when we're talking about types of buildings, you know, how you're building today, Paul, versus how you were building 20 years ago. Once again, whether it's a building feature, whether it's a commercial aspect, whether it's specific unit features, how have those things evolved?
Oh yeah, I would say the unit mix has pretty much stayed the same. We try to do a good mix between studios, 1, 2s, and 3-bedroom apartments, so that we get diverse clientele in our buildings. We don't want just all young couples or just all old couples. We want a good mix, and that's what we've accomplished by continuing to have a mix of studios, 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms in our buildings. As far as amenities go, it's the same. Lounges and rooftops. We put rooftops on every one of our developments over the 40 years, so people get that outdoor space, get a beautiful view of Manhattan or Jersey City or the New Jersey skyline. The sunsets are great. The waterfront views are great. So we continue to probably expand on our rooftops. That's probably our biggest thing, biggest change over the years. We've always had rooftops, but we've made them bigger and better than ever, including, you know, the live plantings up there and barbecue grills and seating. And then we've always been doing art shows in our lobbies, and that continues. The current show now at Hamilton Square, 25 different artists, many of them Jersey City artists, and some people that are on this call, the Zoom call, are familiar with the art in the lobbies there. So the culture has been expanding. And the other thing I've seen over the last few years is the great improvement of the restaurant scene, you know, to get better and better restaurants. And Natalie, as you're saying, that people accept Jersey City, and you'll read New Jersey Monthly Magazine, and a quarter of the restaurants will be Jersey City restaurants and up and comers. So it's great to see that. You know, Ratza, of course, everybody's familiar with the best pizza in New York, here in Jersey City at Ratza, you know, probably the nation's #1 or #2 pizza. So I think that restaurant scene has surprised me, and I feel good about that. We play a role in that, in attracting those restaurants to come to Jersey City. Ratza was our recruit. We brought them here to Jersey City.
So it's funny you say recruit. So that, you know, hey, developers build for many different reasons, right? You gave an example of unit mix before, and that's strictly focused on, you know, diversifying your portfolio, right? Because, you know, different markets move different ways, and if you have all 1 bedrooms, obviously, if 1 bedrooms are soft, you have a potential rent roll challenge. So, you know, it's a diversified portfolio, just like it would be a stock portfolio, right? To mitigate risk. You know, I've heard now restaurants, that was your recruit, you know, retail, I've heard art exhibit, you know, I feel a lot of culture and community, not just building these 37 units with a rent roll of X, right? And an NOI of Y. I feel like you've taken a little bit of a different approach versus some developers that are strictly looking at this as a financial transaction. And I'd love you to potentially give a little bit of color on that.
Sure. Well, in 2 words, we sum it up as building neighborhoods. That's our company tagline, and we truly aspire to that, building a neighborhood so that you have a place to live, a place to work, a place to shop, eat, be entertained, and just a great place to live. So Eric and I, my brother Eric and I, are always on the lookout for that that great retailer, that enthusiastic entrepreneur wants to open up. And whether it be a Newport Pharmacy with Victor Mascara, who's from Spain, first kid in his family ever go to college, and I went to pharmacy school at night in downtown Newark, and opens up his pharmacy in our building at Hamilton Square. It's been probably 12 years already. Last year he filled 75,000 prescriptions with 16 full-time employees. You know, someone like that, you know, who's going to bank on Victor? But we did. Christy Freeman, who opened up Hamilton Health and Fitness and Project Pilates, a former JetBlue flight attendant. We bank on her. Dan Richer from Ratza, he was in Maplewood at Arturo's, and he wanted to open up something in Jersey City. We showed him around the neighborhood, ended up at our wine bar, Bar Majestic. And Dan said, you know what, I'd like to rent this place. Would you consider closing your bar so I can open up my pizza place here? And we said yes, and allowed him to open up where we were, and it's now world famous. And the list goes on and on, where, you know, Eric and I are really in tune with the retail needs and the restaurant scene, and recruit for that. One more example, Rumba Cubana. We called, when we were building Park Francis, we knew we wanted a Cuban restaurant in the neighborhood. And we asked around, what's the best Cuban restaurant in Hudson County? And it's Rumba Cubana. So we called Alan Lopez from Rumba, met with him, and he said, I'm not ready yet. I'm opening up in Clifton. I'm 6 months behind schedule. I can't commit to Jersey City. So we said, you know what, if you can commit to Jersey City, whatever you're done with Clifton, we'll give you 2 months off. You can rest and then tackle Jersey City. We'll hold the space for you for that long. And he agreed. He was surprised that we agreed, but we waited for the best. And we were lucky to be able to find someone like Alan. He is truly the best Cuban restaurant in the area. And I'm so fortunate to have so many people like that. So you go to any one of our buildings.
You are literally a pitch man for all of your tenants. No, but it's so funny because I can sit here and I don't feel like it's BS, Paul. Like, and I was like, wow, is that authentic? Like, you knew how many prescriptions they filled last year. Like, you wouldn't typically know that if it was just a plug. No, it's hey, these relationships build community. Hey, and let's be honest, building community enhances everyone's value, right?
It really does, and it makes it more fun for all of us. It makes it interesting. A place like Cannibal and Company, you walk into their store every week, the store looks different. Kristen brings in new products all the time, and it attracts people to the neighborhood. And then when Ratza was serving indoor dining, you know, before COVID, there'd be an hour and a half wait at Ratza, and people would be forced to shop the neighborhood. And these celebrities that'd be eating at Ratza would show up at Cannibal and Company. Chris would say, you know who just came into my store and made a purchase? You know, all excited. So they feed off each other. It's really delightful.
I know you've developed at scale, but how about like a couple of quick tips here? People always ask, you know, give me a couple of mistakes that you would give advice to aspiring developers to avoid in thinking about, you know, what they're doing. You know, just a quick tip or two.
Sure. Yeah. Well, part of our business story is complete failure in the late 80s. The real estate market crashed. Our bank went out of business. We had to turn back a lot of properties to the government, to the banks, and really a real nightmare from 1990 to 94. Never declared bankruptcy, did work out with every bank, you know, lived up to whatever agreements we could reach with them to settle our debts. And a few good lessons there. To learn, you know, from adversity, come back. I think that's probably the biggest thing. You fail, try it again. Everybody should fail somewhere along the way. And we failed miserably. We weren't able to make the payroll for our trucking company. So all kinds of problems along the way. But you face it the next day, you don't hide from it, and get up and do it again. And the other big thing, not to be greedy. There've been so many deals where, not so many, but there've been deals where we've been offered a good premium on something, try to sell it or rent it, and turn it down, waiting for something a little bit bigger, and then realizing that was a good offer. We should have accepted it. So not to get greedy. And you get a good offer, take it and make it work. If you get somebody you want to work with. And I experienced that selling my first condo when I had just got out of college, bought a condo, selling it a few years later, moved to a house, and I had a good offer on it. The second day I put on the market, I said, oh, it's only the second day, I'm going to wait. 6 months later, I sold it for that amount. So, you know, I learned early on and along the way not to be greedy with real estate.
Right. Yeah. It's much more a long tail approach, right? You can't maximize whatever that means, maximize and perfectly
Yes.
time every transaction. I want to
Correct.
be
Yeah,
just
good point.
real quick, a quick pivot and be timely here. Natalie, I'll go Natalie and then Paul. Obviously, work from home, flex office space, community space, everything's, been turned upside down, right? With COVID the past year. What do you think from a housing need moving forward is going to change now? And do you think the work from home is here to stay? Is it flexible? Is it overblown, exaggerated? Natalie, what's your opinion in talking to your clients every day and hearing it from all the Triplemint agents?
I think that people still want community. They still want to go into an office, maybe not every single day, but there's still a large percentage of people that want to go in and participate and collaborate and get out of the house and go and be in an office. That being said, I think that there's still, you also need to have that space at home. So I expect to see, and I'm sure Paul will be able to add to this, but I expect to see, more office nooks, dens, areas kind of carved out for this, for working from home. To have maybe a room that's soundproofed a little bit better, I could imagine would be helpful. I think that the community spaces within a building are going to be important for our kind of urban market here. So yeah, I do think that people are still going to want to have that community feel, but maybe not 5 days a week.
And to give clarity on that for people listening that may be looking to buy, what constitutes a legal bedroom versus a den and a nook?
Oh, we're getting to legalities.
No, just window. No. I don't need specific.
Oh, I have to have a window. Here in New Jersey, and Paul, add to this, it has to be a specific size and it has to have a window. Closet is not necessary, but a window is.
It's funny. Paul, I'll get to you in 5 seconds. You just said something I hadn't thought of, but I'm thinking of it now as people are walking on top of me. Soundproofing, right? I mean, I know people, particularly in the city, in some of these buildings that are a little bit more she, right, in the middle of Manhattan, and they're so concerned about, do you play piano? Do you play an instrument? Or mandating carpeting, you can't even have hardwood floors. So soundproofing is very interesting. I could totally see that.
Soundproofing is something that I always talk about when I'm taking people out to look at homes or when I'm showing off real estate. It's unfortunately something you may not know about ahead of time until it's too late. And I think it is a huge factor for people's just either them being able to enjoy their space the way they would like to, and being able to entertain or have an instrument, just as much it is to be someone that doesn't want to hear all of that. And I think that that's something that, your local real estate people would know to give you a heads up on. But 100%, I think that's a really important thing to think about.
New construction doesn't.
We're seeing that more and more here.
Good.
I'm sorry, Eric. One thing about the soundproofing, we have a woman that's a professional opera singer, and she's rehearsing in her apartment, driving her neighbors crazy. So, before work from home and the quarantines, she was going to a studio to do this. But so it's funny, it's nice to hear it for 10 minutes a day, but not hours a day. That's the difficulty.
What's your take on it, Paul? When you're talking to all your tenants and you're listening, right? It sounds like you do a lot of listening. What do you think? I know it's tough to forward think, but I know you are because you're planning and you talk to a lot of other developers. What do you think that mix is going to be? Work from home and will there be such thing as a new norm? And particularly how may you adjust how you're building things moving forward?
Yes, I think people will get back to offices like Natalie's saying. And my prediction and my guess is 1 day a week you'll be working from home or working remotely from somewhere, whether it be from a boat, from a camper, from a vacation house somewhere. You're going to realize, hey, I don't have any meetings, face-to-face meetings today. I can do it by Zoom. I can be out of the office. So they're all getting used to Zoom so much, dialing into our computers that way with our computers. So I really think that it'll add a lot to quality of life because you can be out in the Poconos, you can be up in Vermont, wherever you want to be for a day, take a long weekend and still be productive. But yet 5 o'clock, you're already at your vacation spot and you don't have to do that 2-3 hour travel. So I think it'll be a big plus for everybody. That's a good silver lining that's coming out of this.
Yeah, it's so funny. I've been arguing with people. I don't know if it's, I hate to say it, I don't know if it's an age thing, but I just think if you crave human connection, you crave human connection, whatever age you are. And I do believe, I agree with you, Paul, wholeheartedly. I think it'll be, I think the new norm is going to be 1, maybe 2, work from home. But I talked to some other people, and once again, I don't want to make this generational, but they're like, oh, I'm never going back to work. I'm like, ooh, really? And there's something to be said for when some people are back to work, and we talk about a lot of Triplemint, it's hard having some people in the office and some people virtual, right? Doing meetings, some on Zoom, some in person. And so many ideas come from human interaction, right? So much creativity and that entrepreneurial spirit, which I think is a little bit lost on communication like this.
We had that last week. I went to wash out my coffee cup in the kitchen in our office, and in about a 2-minute conversation, we solved a huge issue for a construction project we're working on. Now, I'm at home, I'm washing out my cup in my own sink. I'm not seeing anybody. But when you're in that office, whether you be walking the hallway, those chance meetings and those conversations are invaluable.
And, that might have been 30 emails back and forth, if you didn't see that person. It's so true. Mm-hmm. So true. Okay. Retail. Because I think people always think residential is in a box of itself, but you know what? We talk about community. What's the future of retail? Obviously hospitality retail in particular has gotten so hurt, and it's been so challenging. What do you think is the future of dining and retail and things of that nature moving forward? Or is it really too soon to say?
I think retail is more entertainment and service than anything else, because you can buy anything at any time, 24 hours a day, and have Amazon ship it to your house the next day. But to go in a store and have the color and the experience and the smell and the feel, that can't be replaced online. And to walk into stores where the proprietor, the entrepreneur has that enthusiasm to bring good products in that are unique, and a service and expertise and a knowledge that is entertaining. And you can spend an hour in a store and be entertained and buy and shop. So I think that's going to continue. It's not going to be for everybody. There could be retailers that just are bland, cookie cutter retailers that won't exist in the future. So it'll be people, I like to say, people that rent from us. You'll look at our stores, each and every one of them could be a television show in itself. Look at Another Man's Treasure with Mika and Warren. They're beautiful vintage store. It's not just clothing. They've got hats and shoes and jewelry and vinyl records and all kinds of things where it's like going to a museum to be entertained. So I think that's a bright future. Restaurants, I hopefully we'll all come back to eating in crowded restaurants and bars again. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling having a great meal with friends and a buzz in a restaurant. 25% doesn't cut it. 35% doesn't cut it. You want the restaurant 100% full with a crowd around you and a good meal and a bottle of wine or cold beer to have that meal. So hopefully they come back strong.
Just a quick reminder to anybody listening, if you want to throw some questions in the Q&A below, we'll have a few minutes at the end to answer some questions. So please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A below. This is a question for both of you. A lot of people, I'm thinking from the consumer perspective, and they look at new development and they go, where's the character, right? How come why did they build it so sterile? And there's always a battle of new versus old. And I know you've done a lot of restoration projects, and I would just love to give, both of your perspectives, Natalie and Paul, about restoration and the challenges with restoration. And when you think about, renovating something that's landmarked versus not landmarked, and all the thought and potential challenges, right, with the local municipalities that go into this. So, Natalie, I don't know if you want to share one or two of your favorite things, from Jersey City that's been done over the past couple of years, whether it's Paul's project or not.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Paul's going to elaborate on this, but when I first got into real estate, I met them when they were working on the projects along Grove Street, the Majestic, and bringing back those buildings to what they looked like originally. And I remember Eric actually showing me pictures that they had like zoom in on to try to find the molding to exactly, bring it back to what it was. And, here was Grove Street across from City Hall, right off of the Grove Street Path Station. The first thing that people were seeing, and there were these boarded up buildings, and immediately you're not going to feel safe. It's not going to feel warm and inviting. And so to take those buildings, and I mean, we all know that that was, I'm sure, a tremendous project, way more expensive than just knocking them down and putting something new up. But what it gave to the community and the neighborhood, it just sort of spread from there. And I think it's very important to keep that history and that look and that vibe. And it's still one of the best places to go in Jersey City still.
And consumers crave that, right? I even say when they, consumers crave blending the old with the new. So, Paul, when people are listening, talk about some of the challenges, or, is it a labor of love to get some of those projects done, and why?
There's certainly a labor of love. I know, but you look at the background behind Natalie, that old distressed brick, and how much more interesting that is than a bland drywall sheetrock wall put up behind you. So to have that character, the bricklayers 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago, laying that brick and hauling the brick in, and having it manufactured somewhere, all those things. So certainly the historic renovations are much more challenging to work within the constraints of the city ordinance for historic renovation. And but it's so rewarding, and so we still love it. It's getting harder and harder to find those developments to do. So we have been building ground up the last few years, but I'm trying to incorporate some of the old names to keep that history going. We're building at 170 Erie Street now, between 9th and 10th Street on Erie, and we're calling the building Swift and Company because it was the site of the Swift and Company Meat Company stables. Their horses were stored there over 100 years ago. So Holly Tinkett, our graphic designer, did research at the Jersey City Library in the Jersey City room, and determined that it was the old stables for the Swift and Company. So here we're keeping the name. We'll have a lot of discussion and a lot of presentations within the building reflecting that history. And it helps you keep rooted in the neighborhood, knowing what was here and what the buildings were before we lived here. So it's been a long history, a couple hundred years of development here in Jersey City. We got to pay attention to that. It's important.
I have a question here, and this is for either of you, and this person is specifically asking about Greenville and your thoughts on Greenville. And he's mentioning here that he feels like it's lagging behind a little bit from a retail perspective. What do you feel the plans are in regarding the development of areas of Ocean Avenue, which I grew up in Brooklyn, and MLK? You want to shed a little light, Natalie and Paul, on Greenville and your thoughts, and maybe
Sure.
Please.
So we are seeing a lot of activity, buying and selling. There is movement over there. I think retail, something that I'm hoping will come out, being a restaurant owner myself, we have a place in Bergen Lafayette. And what I'm hoping we'll see, because I think it'll spur from here. We talk about the restaurants, restaurants are struggling right now. We have got to keep them in place, because they really are, where the community comes together to meet, to socialize. And one of the things that I think we're lacking in Jersey, and this comes up a lot, and we're still hoping that something changes with this, is our liquor licenses are a bit of a challenge. They're incredibly expensive. There's only so many to go around. There's been a lot of talk about getting a beer and wine license, which is what you guys have in New York. And that's why you see all these great little wine bars popping up, little, martini bars, and these really creative, cool spaces. And the challenge is finding retail that's going to be able to move into the spot and make enough money. Entrepreneurship is rough. And to actually make enough money to pay the rent and then pay your own personal bills and thrive in an area, that's really important. And I do think that if the liquor licenses adjusted just a little bit, just a beer and wine, we may start to see more creative restaurants pop in, and that creates more activity on the street. That creates more, maybe in the next door now somebody else wants to move in and put something cool in, because the restaurant might be pulling people to that street. So we are seeing activity. I hope that we continue to see more. And like I said in the beginning, I feel like more and more people are spreading out. It's not all just focused in downtown. We are seeing other parts of Jersey City have activity. So, we're hoping to see that happen sooner.
Funny you say that. I just think about something in my area out in Essex that, there's a restaurant that's been closed for a bit, but they're trying to sell that liquor license, right? And holding people hostage and asking a ridiculous amount of money. So it's actually hurting the community. The community suffers. So
Right.
That's, no one's buying that crazy price liquor license. No one can get as you call it in New York, the beer and wine, which is what you to get. Paul, what's your thoughts on Greenville?
I was excited this week to see the opening of Life of Pie, a new pizza restaurant just opened by the councilman for the area, Jermaine Robinson. So, you need that kind of seed planted. You get a local councilman that, I know he's been talking about this for years to get his own pizza place open up there. So, in a what was really a derelict pizza, it was pizza beforehand, but derelict, and he really worked hard to fix it up. So it's going to take a lot of people like Jermaine and others to take that step and that leap and have Natalie find them a space in Greenville to open up their retail and then stick with it. It's not going to be a success overnight. It's going to take time. Our Grove Street tenants, as busy as Grove Street is now, 20 years ago, it wasn't that busy. But they hung in there and made it a destination, made it comfortable and safe and litter free and good camaraderie, outdoor dining. So, it's really an investment in time and effort.
And, I don't want to get too deep and political here, right? Because then you start thinking about, the chicken and the egg, right? Is it residential? Is it retail? Which comes first? What are the potential incentives?
Yeah, they bring each other on.
Right. What are the potential incentives for landlords?
Exactly right.
What are the potential incentives and maybe tax incentives for landlords to make some of these rents affordable, right? Because like you said, Paul, it takes a couple of years to get that momentum. So
sure does.
Really interesting. Okay, let's thank you for that question. Let's look forward a little bit. What are you most excited? I have a couple of things regarding this. What are you most excited about for the next 5 to 10 years? One or two things you're most excited about hyperlocal Jersey City over the next 5 or 10 years. You could be as specific as you like, please.
I'm excited about the Lowe's Theater. I'm really excited about the Lowe's Theater. It's been such a beautiful part of the Journal Square area. They've gone through a lot, but I'm excited for that to be brought back and restored to a point that we can start having, real, concerts and really utilize the space way more than it's being utilized now. It's right across from the Journal Square path. I think it's going to be the crown jewel of Journal Square. And I think it's going to draw people. Again, it'll feed the restaurants in the area, which will bring more restaurants in, which will bring more retail, which will bring more activity, more residential. And I think that for me, the arts is a huge part of Jersey City that I love. And I think that is such a gorgeous, gorgeous property. I'm excited to be able to see, a concert there, nice big concert there. So
I know, Paul, you think Natalie's excited about the Lowe's Theater?
Oh, I am also excited about the Lowe's Theater. The group that owns the New Jersey Devils, my favorite sport, my favorite team, New Jersey Devils, they are investing in the Lowe's Theater. They're going to be doing the programming, I believe. So it's great to see that deep-rooted interest in Journal Square and the Lowe's Theater. I also two things that excite me. Two ends of Jersey City, the south end, Liberty State Park, seeing that this park is going to probably double in size. It was cleaned up, but there's a lot of contaminated area that has not been cleaned up yet. The state has plans to pretty much double the size of the park, which would be fantastic. It's a great spot for Jersey City. And then on the north end, between the Holland Tunnel entrance and exit, which had been a no man's land forever, is now developing such a great way to really bring a ton of new people into the area. So between Hoboken and Jersey City, that sliver of land will have thousands of new apartments there. So that's exciting to see that too.
Okay, so let's let me see here. Complete these sentences. You ready? Natalie, again, ladies first.
Oh, good.
Move to Jersey City if you're looking for.
Anything, everything, the beauty.
No, that's a
No.
cop out. I'm not going to let you go.
Well, it's not, because that is one of the things that I love about Jersey City is really anything. If you want to live in a beautiful, gorgeous, high-rise building with beautiful views of the city, you can have it. If you want to be in a brownstone, you can have it. If you want a two-family, you can have it. If you want a big, gorgeous Victorian, you can go over to Lincoln Park and find one. There is literally something here for everyone. If you want to have a business and live above it, you can have it. There really is. We have so many different kinds of architecture and opportunities here for not just the actual real estate, the home ownership, but the opportunities for the entrepreneur I think is very strong here. So I mean, I know it sounded funny, but I really do think that there is something here for everyone.
Okay, so then this might be a little bit more difficult for you. Part B, don't move to Jersey City if you're looking for.
I mean, if you're a jerk.
No jerks allowed.
No jerks allowed. I mean, I would say you have to just pick what area. You know, we talked a little bit, with the rent versus own kind of thing. And I think that there might be an opportunity for, if you aren't familiar with Jersey City, you may want to rent for a year or two and really learn Jersey City, because there are so many different neighborhoods that offer so many different ways of life that, you know, you may want to take that time to really learn all the different neighborhoods of Jersey City, because there are so many different unique pockets of this town that are wonderful and amazing. So I think that's, I mean, you really can just find what you're looking for here.
Okay, Paul, you can't give the safe answer here. But it wasn't safe. Again, there's something for everybody in Jersey City. That is clear.
True.
So Paul, move to Jersey City for?
Yeah, for the diversity of people and opportunities and size of living, which really is what Natalie was saying. You can live in an apartment, in a high-rise building. You can live in a low-rise. You get that brownstone. You can get the private house. So a huge diversity in how to live. Huge diversity of the population. You know, I volunteer in the schools, and I've been in classrooms where there's 13 different languages spoken in that one classroom, and it's just a great way to live. And if the whole world was like this, there'd be no fighting. There'd be no racial divide and no animosity to other religions. So I think that diversity is a huge part of Jersey City, and so those are good reasons to live here. As far as a reason to not live here, or how did you phrase it, Eric?
I said, don't move to Jersey City.
Don't move to Jersey City. Those words don't come out of my mouth. I can't say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's this? We have about 10, 12 minutes left. Let me get through a couple of these questions here, and then a couple of thank yous. So, trends in pricing moving forward. This is a person that was concerned about being completely priced out. I don't know if that's the case, right? Because there is so many different areas and opportunities that maybe are unexplored. But what is this feeling like? Oh, I missed the boat. You know, I think a lot of people feel that in many neighborhoods throughout the tri-state. Did I miss the boat? What do you say to that person?
I say absolutely not. I mean, I think that right now there's even an opportunity, because with what has happened this last year, there is a dip in certain, you know, if you're looking for your first time 1-bedroom studio, we have seen those prices tick down a little bit kind of throughout Jersey City. So there's an opportunity there. Maybe you do have to explore a different neighborhood to make sure that it lands in your budget. But there is such a range of affordability in Jersey City. And right now, I do think that there's a little bit of a dip, especially if you're maybe the first time buyer that's looking to get their first place, stop renting. There's an opportunity right now in that size home. Maybe not the big houses. That's what everybody kind of like ran to with the big yards and stuff. Those definitely we saw bidding wars and such. But I think that there's still opportunity.
Well, opportunity is also.
I think.
I was going to say real quick about the upside, right? It sounds like both of you are so excited about the upside. So what may seem right? It's always relative, right? What may seem pricey today, 8 years from now, may not appear too pricey. That's always the challenge of timing the market and really kind of forward thinking.
And rates have gone down so much that you can afford, you know, probably 10% more than you could have a year ago, just because of the rates. The exact same amount downs, you know, the monthly costs are going to be lower right now. So now is the opportunity. I mean, always an opportunity, but I think there is a unique opportunity right now with the prices having, you know, unnaturally gone down for a moment. We've seen Jersey City increase over certainly my career. This is a unique time that I think that someone could get in and snag something.
Paul, someone that feels priced out, you know, what do you think they're not, don't have purview as much as you do to where this city is going to be in the next, you know, decade?
Well, so, you know, it's 40 years for us. So we've seen a lot of ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And so people ask me, when is a good time to buy? And I always say now is a good time to buy, because you don't know what it's going to do. There's no way you can predict, you know, what's going to happen in a year or two. It could be a crash, it could be a rally in either direction. So buy within your means. You know, don't spend more than you can afford. You know, make your mortgage comfortable. As Natalie said, low rates now, you get good buying power, and then you have your budget and spend within your budget. You know, don't overspend and become house poor and not be able to go out for dinner, or not be able to pay for Netflix because you get too big of a mortgage. So, you know, to just live within your means. I always suggest that, and buy what you can. But it's always a good time to buy. And I think also Natalie mentioned about renting and then buying something. We see that frequently. People that are renting from us 2-3 years, new to Jersey City, and end up buying in the neighborhood. That's our biggest compliment. If you're not going to renew your lease with us, if you're buying something in the neighborhood, we are thankful for that. We're happy to see you stick around the neighborhood, making that big investment in a property. So I always say now is a good time to buy.
People have also mentioned in some of the Q&A here about some of the challenges, right, with taxes, you know, are what they are, and some of the loss of deductions in New Jersey. You know, I almost want to give my 2 cents on this, because they're talking about the exodus to the burbs, right? Because Triplemint also does a lot of business in New York City. And, you know, it's so funny, everything we've talked about as we dig in deep about Jersey City and the community and the people and the diversity and the retail and the parks and the actual neighborhood. You know, I have friends that have moved to the burbs that are chomping at the bit, missing that city feel without actually being in the middle of Manhattan. And it sounds like that's what Jersey City offers. So I'm just curious, what do you feel when people say, oh my God, everyone's moving out of Jersey City and Hoboken and they're moving to the burbs? Is that reality, or is that not reality?
We've had, in our rentals, we've had about 10% move out over this past year. Young people moving back to their parents, older people moving to vacation houses, and then people in between with a couple of young kids coming to Maplewood and Montclair and the suburbs of Connecticut and New York and New Jersey, so that they have a place for their kids to run. But it's only been 10%. We've had a ton of people moving in from Manhattan and from Brooklyn, because the streets of Jersey City are still full of life. There's no boarded up buildings. There's no riots. We have demonstrations that have been peaceful. So hats off to Mayor Phillip and the whole police community for good neighborhood policing, where you know, it feels safe and lively and not at risk at all. So although we've seen a lot of people move out the last 8 months or so, in the last 2 or 3 months, it's really coming the other way. We have more people moving in than moving out. So we had been down about 89% occupancy. Now we're about 91%, and it's moving up. It'll take time to move up and go back to our normal 99%, but you know, we can hang in there until that happens. And there's one plus at Park Francis, we had enough empty apartments to be able to convert one of the big apartments there into a co-working space. So people that were working at home and hanging out in their kitchen with their spouse, you know, complaining about the noise of their work, we turned up one of the apartments into an ANCO co-working space. So 3 or 4 people a day are in there working. So there's a little silver lining there as well.
Natalie, when you know, obviously you're working with 30 to 40 plus agents with Triplemint directly, and you're having a lot of these, you know, town hall meetings internally, what is the reality of this exodus to the suburbs from Jersey City and Hoboken?
I think people definitely went out. I think that a lot of people were not able to buy. I think maybe some people might have gotten, you know, who knows, maybe it was a lucky move that they were not able to get a home at that time. because of all these bidding wars, because there was this frenzy to get out to the burbs. And so people ended up going to vacation homes, maybe taking the winter down to Florida, or, you know, they found other options. I have friends that decided to just stay in their summer house, and they weren't going to bother looking right now. They're going to wait and see what happens. And, you know, it's funny, some of those people have actually said, we can't wait to get back to Jersey City. Yeah, it's been nice. It's been good to be away. It's been nice to have the yard, but we miss our home in Jersey City, even though it doesn't have outdoor space or might be a little bit smaller or a lot smaller. It's still their home. And, you know, we are a very tight-knit community, I feel. And I think that we all want to get back. We want to get back to our local businesses, restaurants, our friends. You know, one of the things that Silverman does so well, and I think other developers have learned from them, is they build a sense of community in their buildings. You know, rentals are such transient, you know, often, you know, they stay a year and they're off to the next one. And I think that what they've done and what now developers are understanding they have to do, and one of the trends actually is that a social director now, they've created a job for these buildings to create events and to make people feel like they, even though they're renting, they still have roots here, and they have people they don't want to move away from. So yes, people went away. They did, to, you know, in kind of a little bit of just a self-preservation, but I think they want to come back. And I think even if they don't come back full time, you know, I think we're going to see pied-à-terres. I think we're going to see, I think they're going to come back.
Yeah, I think people underestimate that draw to the city, and it's not blind faith on my part. And I think you said something earlier as well, the astronomical uptick in bidding wars in suburbia doesn't make it affordable for many. You talk about getting priced out of Jersey City. How about getting priced out of, you know, Summit or Maplewood or Montclair when there's 30 people outside an open house and only one person got that? And I talked to a lot of those people, and they're like, you know what? We're good in Jersey City, or we're good, you know, in Park Slope. So you know, not everybody's moving to the burbs. It's always the case, right? It's always either one side or the other. It's always exaggerated. Like no one's ever going back to work. That's obviously not the case. There's going to be a new norm that will be determined in the next couple of years.
I think Jersey City and Hudson County is going to be that middle ground for people. You know, there are people that may not want to go all the way back to the city. And I also think that we're about to see leases coming up in New York, and we're going to see those people going, well, do we want to stay in New York, or do we want to come over? And there's a large demographic that's not going to want to go too far from the city. You know, most people do think they're going to have to go back to work for at least a couple of days, 2-3 days a week. So, you know, there's still a large amount of people that see Jersey City or Hudson County in general as that kind of middle ground where you're still getting that city feel. I can hop on the path anytime I want and go back into the city. You feel like you're just a train right away. You are just a train right away, but you could have, again, if you want that house, you can get it here. You know, there are, it's kind of the best of both worlds, I think.
It's funny. No, totally. I don't know why you say Jersey City, and like one of the words that comes out of my head is Astoria, right? It's the other side, still a lot of community, you know, a lot of diversity. And you could be from Astoria into Manhattan quicker than you can be from uptown and downtown being in the same borough. Yep. So, okay. So I have a number of people to thank. First of all, most importantly, the attendees for joining us today and taking an hour out of your day. Hopefully you had some lunch with us. Big shout out once again to Hoboken Girl. Wonderful, wonderful resource for everybody in Hudson County for more than a decade. Thank you, Natalie Miniard, broker of record at Triplemint Real Estate. Thank you, Paul Silverman, one of the principals in Silverman, one of the preeminent developers and builders with 40-year roots, my God, 1981 in Jersey City. And I know Chelsea is going to put our contact information in the chat below. So anybody that wants to connect with us, please take a look in the chat for our information. I also want to thank a lot of the real estate professionals that have joined us that either work at Triplemint or work at another brokerage, and obviously all the Triplemint clients. So if you have any questions, you've joined us about buying, selling, and renting, please connect with your Triplemint real estate professional that have invited you here today. Feel free to reach out to us, and have an amazing, amazing Tuesday. Paul and Natalie, I can't thank you enough.
Thanks,
Our
Paul.
pleasure.